Time for another edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. With you as always, Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell, your local friendly Kansas City Star columnist. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Chiefs got a win. First time ever getting a win at the New York Giants. That happened. First win of the season. Was this game progress or just a bad Giants team? Can this team compete with the NFL's elite? We're talking about it here tonight. Tyquan Thornton, is he already exceeding expectations? Andy Reid downplayed his incident with Travis Kelce. Is it no big deal or is it a sign of bigger problems? Harrison Butker, is he officially a problem now? Got poo-pooed last week. Some more misses doesn't make anybody any more confident, I think, right now. What impressed you about the Chiefs' defense, the secondary? Is that all figured out? Jalen Moore, why not his time at right tackle? And, of course, whose fault are the backward throws? Mahomes, Pacheco, we get into that right here, right now. The Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on a Tuesday. Remember, if you're catching us via the podcast, you can be a part of the conversation. Already a lot of people lined up in the chat room. We stream live, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. We do it on Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Guys, let's dive right in this game. Jeff, progress or just a bad Giants team?
I'm going bad Giants team. If I have to pick one, I mean, I think there was some progress. Yeah, I think there's some things we'll talk about later. I mean, Tyquan Thornton and guys like that. But, yeah, I think coming in, I think we all felt like the Chiefs should win this game, that the Giants are horrible defensively. The offensive line had issues. Russell Wilson has not had great games against Steve Spagnuolo of late. And a lot of things pointed to this being a Chiefs win. So I think the fact that they had to struggle with them, first half was horrible. It was almost impossible to watch. And if not for an amazing Patrick Mahomes play, stopping a fumble recovery for a touchdown, it could have really gotten ugly fast. And so I give them credit for coming out in the second half and getting it together and getting some drives going. But I thought I saw too much of what I've seen the last couple games. And for that to be the case against a bad Giants team, I wasn't that impressed.
Yeah, how about you, Sam? Progress or just a bad Giants team?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you didn't watch the first half, you could argue for some progress with the offense in the second half. But really, I think that progress only looks that way because of how bad the first half was. I mean, they averaged, even for the game, 4.57 yards per play for the game. That is the seventh worst in the Patrick Mahomes era. Out of 115 starts, that's the seventh worst offensive performance per play that they've had under Patrick Mahomes. 4.57. At halftime, they were at 3.57, which they've never had a full game worse than that in the Patrick Mahomes era. Like, that's how bad they were in that first half. And like, there was one offensive player made a play the entire first half, and it was Patrick Mahomes going to strip the football to a player.
I was trying to remember what it was. I was like, it was?
Yeah.
But, and we'll get to this later. I think you should be pretty pleased with the defensive effort.
Yeah, I would agree. Listen, I you never apologize for a win in the NFL, and we're not asking the Chiefs to apologize for the win, and they beat the team that was in front of them there. But if we're to say, okay, is this team, getting back to the way they were? Are they looking championship caliber? The answer is no. I mean, I don't know how you could say anything but. I mean, it was another dismal offensive performance, and the second half does count, though. Let's do that. Jeff, if I put it on the second half, right? Is there enough to say, okay, that began the progress, right? There's something to build on there, or is it just kind of like baseball happens? Teams don't usually get no hit. So if you go, well, we had a few hits after we were, in the last 3 innings. Now it's something to build on. Like, is it just like, hey, coincidentally, a few things are going to go right, and that's what it was, and the Giants are inept? Or do they start to structurally, fundamentally get some things figured out?
Well, again, I think we can't have it both ways. I think we have to either say the standard is up here for this offense, and whatever they're doing right now is not close to that, or we can say, oh, yeah, they're trying to piece things together and make the most of it. And so I feel like, yeah, there were some things. Again, Tyquan Thornton made some plays, but I also feel like there's still way too many times when it's just Mahomes just chucking it up and hoping somebody makes a play. And that's not offense. That's just hoping. that's desperation. And, one thing that I struggle with right now is that when I talk about this team, there's this sense of, well, how would most teams look if they lost their top 2 receivers? Yeah, I get that, but this is where they're at. This is where they are right now. And so we're not judging them based on what they could be or what they're missing. We're basing them on how can they go win games with this group they have. And so with that in mind, yeah, it's hard to really look at what they're doing and say, like, I'm watching the Ravens and the Lions last night, or I'm watching the Bills or whoever it is, the Chargers, the Broncos, and like, they don't look as good as those teams right now. The eye test, they don't pass it. Even if you want to talk about the defense playing better, it's still not where I look at it and say, oh yeah, that team is as good as those teams right now. And it's okay to say that, because yeah, they'll get those guys back, but it's okay to say that now.
Yeah, I don't agree with like the thought that it's all these 2 receivers because I mean, Carson Wentz put up 48 points.
yeah.
Marcus Mariota put up 41 points on Sunday. And look, Carson Wentz has some of the best weapons in the league, but Mariota's got Terry McLaurin, and like, who's their second best weapon? And if you say Deebo Samuel, like, watch the film for the last 2 years with Deebo Samuel. And if you say Zach Ertz, watch the film for the last like 4 years with Zach Ertz. Like, those guys aren't what they once were. And, I mean, Travis Kelce, I think, is as good as a weapon as Zach Ertz is at this point in both of their careers. So I don't buy this excuse that they're missing these 2 guys. Now, that's a reason they're not reaching their ceiling, but it's not a reason why they're hitting their floor.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Schematically, they're a mess. And I'll go back to what was said last week on Thursday when Matt Nagy said they're looking for an identity. I mean, that translates to me, we're looking for what works, and we haven't found it yet. And, whether the league has evolved away from Andy's various packages for different players, and so they're spending a lot of time on stuff that doesn't matter. And so, that's great that you have all these different packages, but none of them are good enough. I don't know. I mean, I just know I'm with you, Jeff. I think when you watch the teams, the eye test tells you they're not good. Okay, offensively, it is a real, it's an issue, and I think they know it's an issue. And look, let's just look at it like what they're running out there. Yes, the 2 wide receivers are going to help. And I'm maybe a little more optimistic than you, Sam, that those 2 could push it up a ways. They
definitely could. I just don't think it's a blanket excuse for being this poor offense.
We're on the exact same page. What they're doing is going to look better with those guys. But, I think there's an element of, and they kind of told us that it was going to look like this when they said, and they did not know Xavier Worthy was going to be down, but if your whole offense is built around a 170-pound player, you're asking for problems. Okay. And so they knew Rashee Rice was going to be out, but they said, no, we're practicing for what they're going to be. And I do think that is one potential mistake that they have made here is they knew they were going to be without Rashee Rice kind of the last 2 weeks, but they didn't really officially know. So could they have, game planned and built an offense differently that didn't have Rashee Rice and was prepared to not have Rashee Rice? I don't know. But if you look at it personnel-wise, they have invested in the offensive line. There's no excuse for them not to be better. But I think they're better than what some of the numbers say just because of the ineptness of the skill positions, right? With their top two wideouts down, their tight end old and is seemingly off kilter in each of the games at some point, whether it's getting upset about something or running into his receiver or not catching the ball. Their running backs look old. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco looks old. He looks like he can't find the hole. Like I definitely think there's a personnel issue. I don't know how much besides the two receivers coming back, Jeff, how much can the personnel get better in season?
Not that much. I mean, you are what you are. I mean, you're relying like again, I'm going to be hopeful that Tyquan Thornton can keep this up, but it's given his track record, there's no real reason to believe he's going to be this player throughout the course of the season. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is somebody who's probably going to get hurt. Hollywood Brown's probably going to get hurt. I think you're getting the most out of these guys. The problem, you've touched on it, and really the bigger problem, we discussed this before, and they've been able to get away with it because Mahomes has been great, Travis Kelce's been great, Chris Jones, Spagnuolo, is that they've built an offense that's built around Andy scheming it up, not around, hey, we got a lot of playmakers in here and we just get them the ball and they make it happen. And so that's, I think, the biggest issue they have right now. And Sam's right. I remember the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming in here last year without Mike Evans, without Chris Godwin, and without another guy too, and throwing up 31 points because the offensive line was good and the run game was still good.
Against an elite defense.
Against an elite defense. And so that to me, I don't dismiss those things. There are indications of, they are paying a price for how they've gone about building this. And I do. Look, we all agree Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy would make it better. But I think they've relied on the idea of like, hey, we just need to have guys who can do X. When you're in these situations, you need to have guys who can do a lot more than X.
Yeah, listen, just the numbers. I mean, they're 21st scoring. They're 17th in yards.
They are better, and the advanced metrics don't hate this Chiefs offense right now, which is kind of an odd thing. Like they're 11th actually in DVOA offensively. They're 7th in expected points added on a per play basis. I mean, 7th in the NFL in EPA per play. Like that's surprising when the offense that we've watched for 3 games ranks there. But I think part of that is because the one, I guess, positive of this offense is they haven't had a ton of negative plays. You know, they've only thrown the 1 interception, and that's a ball that went off Travis Kelce's hands. That's their only turnover of the season through 3 weeks. You know, last year, this team wasn't performing well offensively, particularly well, and they were also turning the ball over a lot, if you recall, at this time. So I was a little surprised when I looked at the advanced metrics today where they ranked offensively.
Yeah. But I know your answer, Jeff, but I'll ask it to you. Can they compete with the elite? Can they compete with Buffalo? I mean, I don't know that we can call Baltimore the elite. I know what people are going to say. Well, Derrick Henry doesn't fumble, and he's fumbled a couple of times. And when he doesn't fumble, then they're back to being elite. Okay, and if Travis Kelce catches the ball and if Travis Kelce doesn't lay out Xavier Worthy, maybe they're 2-0, right? Like, but the Bills are truly elite, right? The Lions looked pretty elite last night. I mean, if the Chiefs play one of those games, like, how much of an uphill battle is it?
Right now they probably get blown out by both those teams. I don't think it's close because they were on the verge of being blown out by the Chargers and the Eagles. The Chargers and the Eagles both had 2-score leads late in the second half of those games, and the Chiefs rallied to make it look better than what it was. But in both those games, they were the other team controlled everything. And so to watch the Lions, to watch the Bills right now, again, even the Ravens with their defensive issues, just their ability to score points is could the Chiefs put together? Like, we're talking about the Chiefs second half being impressive or being better because they put a drive together. Like the Lions went, 18 plays, 95 yards, did it twice, I think, in that game. I mean, it's what these offenses can do. And again, they've got different resources, and obviously the salary cap is different for these teams. But I watch a lot of football, and I don't see this offense, even with what Sam's saying about the advanced metrics, looking anywhere close to being a high-level, high-performing unit. And that's what this team is about. I mean, their defense isn't what it was a couple of years ago when they were number one. They're good, but they're not going to carry this team against really good offenses.
They're not going to carry the. I don't think you can just have a zero offense, right? And to Sam's point, that they, some of the advanced metrics say they aren't a zero. And like I said, they're 21st in points. That's getting down to the bottom third. They're 17th in yards. That's below average. But I and the defense is creeping up, and I don't know, maybe you got the DVOA point numbers on the defense, but 9th in points, 11th in yards. I mean, that is one thing that maybe that's the question to me is, can the defense play well enough for the offense to find whatever its identity is, to get its players back and to improve? Do you think that they play the Buffalo Bills right now? What's it look like, Sam?
Yeah, I'm going to go against the grain here because I think that if they're a Travis Kelce catch away from being about a 2/3 or 3/4 favorite to beat the defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, the team that I think Jeff thinks is the best team, or at least the second best team in the NFC, right? If not the best. I mean, they're competing in that game. They should have won that game if Travis Kelce. They were 53% win probability before that catch, before that play. If he catches that ball, they're like I said, they're probably going to beat the defending Super Bowl champions. So can they compete with these teams? Yes. But the thing is, it's not because of their offense. It's because of, like you mentioned, those teams. Do you guys think the Bills have a great defense? I mean, I don't think the Bills have a good defense. Do we think the Ravens have a great defense?
They don't need one right now. They still score like 35 points a game.
I hear that, but then I could say about the Chiefs, well, they don't need a great offense right now because the defense has played so well the past 2 weeks. My point is the Chiefs are better on one half of the ball than the Bills are, than the Ravens are right now. The Ravens gave up almost 300 rushing yards last night to the Lions. Like they've got their own problems as well. But what stands out about those other teams that you're going through, the Lions, the Ravens, the Bills, is the same thing to me. Quarterbacking looks easy in those offenses right now. Quarterbacking looks really difficult in the Chiefs offense right now. And I think they have the best quarterback of those. Those are 4 good quarterbacks. I think the Chiefs quarterback is the best. And I think right now he has the hardest job.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And I also, though, would say that, okay, they were 53%, not 83%. Right, 53.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Before the play is what I'm saying. If he catches
I know.
Yeah, okay.
I know. And after they score the touchdown, what do you think they go to? Like 67?
That's what I said.
They don't go to 90.
Probably 2/3 to 3/4, probably somewhere in that 70% range. Yeah.
I also feel that what happens also change. We know this. Whatever happens changes. I mean, I think the Eagles played the game based upon what they needed to score. I mean, I can't stress that. One team goes down the field and scores almost, on the opening drive, almost always the other team does. Like the Chiefs have kind of created these rock fights. They don't go score, so the other team's offensive guy isn't quite as aggressive. The other team roars down the field for the touchdown. Well, you pull out the good plays and let's get down the field and get 7 more. But I think you kind of create that tempo that's there. I don't think it's just that the Chiefs were going to do exactly what they did no matter how the game was played. I think you want to believe, if you're the Chiefs, that there's more there. They just haven't found it yet. But I'm with you. Like that's what's so troubling is, I think you put it a great way, Sam. It used to look so easy for Mahomes and Reid. Like Reid was getting guys wide open, Mahomes was hitting him. Yeah, if he ran around and scrambled, that was to supplement what was after the 26-yard completion they just had. Now it's the 1-yard run, and then Mahomes has to scramble. I mean, he's going and getting first downs going 9 and 12 yards all the time, not 4 or 5, and let's move the chains and get to the next good plays. It's painful almost every time.
Soren, did you see the Eagles-Rams game on Sunday?
Yes.
26-7, and the Eagles just hit a button, and all of a sudden they were going up and down the field, throwing the football to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Hurts finishes with 200 yards passing. That's exactly what I said last week. Like, they didn't have to play that way to beat the Chiefs, but they can play that way. Yeah, and I guarantee you their win percentage for the Rams in that game was way higher than 53%. When it was 26-7. When you have playmakers, you can do that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm probably in between you two, because I think to Sam's point, also at one
point. I agree with what Jeff just said. Like, I think when you have playmakers, it is easier to get back in a game.
I agree wholeheartely. I'm talking about like what the Eagles could do, like in comparing the Rams, Eagles to the Chiefs. I'll say this: there was also a point where the Eagles, who were supposedly stifling the Chiefs, the Rams had 16 points when the Chiefs had like 3. Right. So this Eagles defense that was, oh boy, look how great this defense is. The Rams had it figured out early on in that game, obviously.
That
and
is,
then to the credit, and you are right, the Eagles then found the solution to what the Rams were doing, and then they went by them. And they did block a couple of kicks. I mean, it was a little bit of 24 Chiefs in how that game ended, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they can play with those teams, but I feel like they would play with them and lose. Right? Is the
That's
idea,
fair.
can they stay on the field? Yes. Do I have confidence that they're going to win? You know, I mean, can they win? Yes, they can win. But it's different now. I don't have the confidence that they're going to win. And that's where we were before, right? Like you felt like every time the Chiefs went out there, and I think the other team felt like that. Nobody feels like when the Chiefs walk out there that they're just dead man walking now.
well, the betting markets don't feel that way. I mean, the Ravens are favored 2.5 points at Arrowhead Stadium, which, if it holds, will be the largest favorite against Patrick Mahomes on his home turf. The Bills were also a 2.5 point favorite in the game that they crushed the Chiefs in a Week 5 game. What was that, 21, I believe, on that Sunday night game that had been delayed with the weather delay. Like, no team's ever been favored a full field goal at Arrowhead Stadium against Patrick Mahomes, and this team's got a chance to do that.
Yeah, I mean, they got a chance.
One that lost last night.
And you said it today, they got a chance to be a dog in 3 straight games because the Lions are looming over the horizon. So that's certainly never happened with Patrick Mahomes. All right, Tyquan Thornton was one of the bright spots. We'll talk about him after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. By the way, quick shout out to our friends over at Italian Delight. Stromboli's at my house were the game day affair. The game may have sucked, but there were a bunch of happy people as we had Stromboli's from Italian Delight. Mwah. Chef's kiss. Thank you to our buddy Renee Bernetti for the great work they do at Italian Delight. I can't recommend them highly enough. And always working on those game days, so go see them at Italian Delight. Tyquan Thornton was a positive. Sam, how much of a positive was Tyquan Thornton? Is this just the beginning of a guy that's a real weapon, or was it just, hey, he had a pretty good day?
Yeah, you guys know that I wasn't super high on Tyquan Thornton, like having his training camp turn into the season. So Patrick Mahomes said on Sunday that he's exceeded his expectation. He certainly has exceeded what I thought he would bring to the Chiefs. And I was looking up some numbers on him today. You know, he has 11 targets this year on downfield shots. That's the most in the NFL. I did not anticipate that a Chiefs receiver would be leading the NFL, even through 3 weeks, on downfield targets. He has 3 catches, which is one shy of the NFL lead. But when you go back and watch those 11, which I went back and watched all 11 today, he gives the quarterback a chance on 9 of them. Like 9 of those 11 could have been complete. And we obviously know that the shots he missed against the Eagles. But what else stood out to me is 2 of the 3 he does catch are contested catches. And the Chiefs over 17 games last year on downfield throws had 3 contested catches with their entire roster in 17 games. He's got 2 in 3 games. Like, to me, this is who they paid Marquez Valdez-Scantling $10 million to be. Like, now they've got a receiver who you don't want to be your go-to guy. He's forced into that role based on the injuries. But they got him off the scrap heap. They didn't pay him $10 million. Like, this guy was unemployed last November for about 48 hours. So it's a great story. And one more quick point on it. I think we can't ignore the throw either. And I don't just mean how good of a throw is. I mean, the fact that Patrick Mahomes was willing to make that throw. Because I asked him about how that play and how it happened. And if you remember, of course, the play right before it gets overturned where it's an incompletion, where Patrick Mahomes takes that opportunity to go to the sideline. He thinks the Giants are going to play man-to-man defense, which they do. And he requests that specific play. And he thinks, because I want to throw the ball to Tyquan Thornton on this play. So that tells you that he's got some confidence in him. But then if you look at it, he doesn't even look at another receiver. He only looks at Thornton. He's covered, and he throws it anyway. And we haven't seen a quarterback that's really been willing to make that kind of contested throw, to give his receiver an opportunity for a contested catch. So I thought it was a really encouraging play for a number of reasons.
Yeah, he's on pace right now, Jeff. If he would just keep up what he's doing right now, he's on pace for 51 catches, 969 yards, and 11 touchdowns. I mean, that's number 2 wideout stuff, right? On a good offense. Now, part of it's because other guys are out, but he is at least showing that this offense can get something done. He is the one, I think, after Patrick Mahomes, who's trying to be Superman, he is the one positive amongst the entire skill position right now.
Yeah, and that's one. I'm happy for the guy. Anybody who gets a second opportunity and goes through that and rebounds, and he's done a good job. Like no one thought he was going to be doing any of this when he left New England. So hats off to him. What you're saying is there's an irony in it, because you're basically saying the guys ahead of him haven't done what they're supposed to be doing, and so I do wonder, how does he fit when this whole group is healthy and back together again? Because I think he's already made a pretty strong case that he should be replacing Hollywood Brown as far as his role as a number 3 receiver. And Juju can't do what he does, getting down the field. So I would assume there'll be some opportunities there. But again, I think that there's also should be trepidation, because it's very hard to sustain this kind of stuff when you've never had this kind of success. It's hard to sustain it when you are playing in a bigger role because people are out or hurt, and those people come back and you have to be in a different role. Like, is he going to get the same amount of targets, the same amount of trust? Is he going to make the same amount of plays? And to be completely honest, can anybody name the guy who was covering him on either one of those throws? Probably not. And so that factors into it too, right? If there's a better defensive back there, maybe he's not catching those balls. So I give him credit for making the plays, but I'm not gonna put a whole bunch of money on him keeping this up throughout the entire year.
I mean, let's by game, 4 for 41, 5 for 59 and a touchdown, and those are target. 2 for 41, 2 for 59 and a touchdown, and 5 for 71 and a touchdown. Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are going to get theirs, but he is at least bumping up to being a legit wideout. I mean, Sam, there's no doubt that he is a guy that, he's running real routes. They tried so hard to make Kadarius Toney a thing, and all of it was like bubble screen crap and all that. He's at least running real routes like a real grown-up wide receiver.
Well, like I said, I think he fills the role that you intended Marquez Valdes-Scantling to fill, but they quickly found out that Valdes-Scantling, remember all the talk about when he came in was, I can do more than the go route. Yes, he can run the full route tree. Well, it turned out they just had him running wind sprints every play, and he couldn't track the ball in the air. And Tyquan Thornton can track the ball in the air. And some of these deep shots that I mentioned, that of the 11 targets, they're not go routes. Like, he's run corner routes. Patrick Mahomes didn't just miss him on the deep shot late in the game. He also missed him on a corner route earlier in the game. He missed him on a corner route against the Chargers in opening week. So you rattled off the numbers, but to me, his numbers could be a lot better if Patrick Mahomes had hit him on a couple of these passes. But yes, I'm not going to predict the guy's going to have 1,000-yard season, and a major part of that is because his role's going to change when these guys come back. But also, like, the whole point of MVS was to help the guys underneath. They actually have a downfield threat now, because the other guys that they've tried to fill this role have not materialized. If you have a downfield threat now, Rashee Rice's job should become a lot easier whenever he does come back.
And so do you agree that Hollywood should be bumped down then?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you've got one guy who's made plays and one guy who hasn't. To me, Tyquan Thornton is your third wide receiver now on the team.
I agree. And I will offer this, though. When those guys come back, the guy who's covering him is 2 times as less likely for you to know his name, right? Like, Jeff, you made the point. Do anyone remember who's covering him? I don't, but like when Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are on the field, it's 2 corners down from that guy that will be covering him in all likelihood. And if it's not, then that means there's a lesser guy covering one of those 2. I mean, that's where it gets better. It's not just addition, offense plus 1, offense plus 1. When, it is, we've talked about it. Eric Eager was the guy who spent a lot of time. The third corner, right? The third wideout is important because you get the third corner, and almost nobody has 3 really good corners. So it doesn't even really matter which one of those guys it is. One of them is going to get a lesser corner. And if they can get Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy healthy, they have both proven that they are playmakers. And Tyquan Thornton is proving that he can make plays. I'm not going to call him a playmaker yet, but that he can make plays. If you've got 3 of those guys on the field, then you've got somebody of high quality to exploit the third worst coverage guy.
Yeah, but then people sit back in coverage then because you can't run the football. That's the problem you run into. They just, we'll just put more guys back there. You can run it all you want with Pacheco and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I mean there's an element of that. I'm not gonna downplay their inability to run the ball.
Not just an element. Like that's the whole thing that the Chiefs are experiencing right now is the fact that, and I mentioned this stat last week, and I'll say it again. Isaiah Pacheco once again did not face a stacked box against the Giants. It's 3 straight weeks that their starting running back has not faced a stacked box with 8 guys. He also faces the highest percentage of light boxes in the league with 5 or fewer. Like every play, the defense, other than these short yardage plays where Kareem Hunt's in the game, is saying, we're playing the pass. And if Isaiah Pacheco gets 5 yards or 6 yards, we don't think he can do it again. And we're comfortable with it. Like Isaiah Pacheco had his best game statistically if you only look at the box score and completely ignore the film. And the Giants didn't change. They said, go for it. If you want to try and run the ball, go for it.
Yeah. And there's a reason why a lot of these plays at Thornton are happening later in the game and not early in the game, because the defenses are probably relaxing and being more willing to say, okay, make a play. There is a lot more focus on let them run in the first half and we'll take away the pass, and a lot more spying on Mahomes this time around. But that makes it hard to throw the football.
How many yards did the Lions run for last night?
Like
300, almost 300, right?
Yeah, and almost all of it with their running backs. I think there were 7. I actually went higher.
Jared Goff doesn't run ever.
He had like 7 yards, a half yard. He got higher than a half yard.
Right,
so I cashed
those 2 guys were like 240, I think.
Okay,
228
for the year. In 3 games, the Chiefs running backs are 51 for 188. The 3 running backs. I've thrown in the 3 carries for Rashard Smith as well.
I mean, Montgomery alone had 151.
Yeah,
I mean that just tells you the difference on what's going on with the running game. We'll get to Pacheco more a little bit later on. Andy Reid bumps Travis Kelce. Anything to see here? He downplayed it a lot. At times he seemed to be saying, "Well, he's the police." He wants Kelce's energy. He knows Kelce knows when to get guys fired up or when to jump on guys, but he's the police officer. And then no, it's no big deal. He loves the game. Where do you sit on what we're watching here?
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I was sitting there in the press box in the fourth quarter. Like I think you guys have been around me enough to know to where I don't write out my questions like ever. But just because this is the type of thing that Andy Reid was going to avoid talking about, I sat there and was like, what is the absolute best way to phrase this question and try and get something out of them? And the question I'd come up with was, what message are you trying to send to Travis Kelce there? And still got no answer, of course. But my point in that is to say that. By the way, there
was no way.
So that's my point. That's my point. That's actually my exact point is like, I went through that exercise because we knew Andy Reid was going to downplay it. So my point is like, we shouldn't put any stock into him saying this is no big deal, because he's going to say no big deal even if he does think that it's a big deal. But when Travis Kelce like headbutted Jawan Taylor after he made the penalty, did anyone have an issue with that? I didn't hear anybody that had an issue with Travis Kelce like trying to get up Jawan Taylor's butt there to try and fire him up. This is different these last 2 weeks. Like we've seen him on the sideline having outbursts, whether it's what seemingly like to slam his helmet down, whether it's Andy Reid bumping him. We saw him obviously once before bumping Andy Reid. But to me, like if I'm Travis Kelce, at some point I'm wondering, is this how I want to go out if this is my last year? Because right now, the image of his potential final season in the NFL through 3 weeks is all about what he's done on the sideline, not what he's done on the field.
Yeah. No, it's 3 consecutive games, Jeff, where there's something about Travis Kelce we're discussing that doesn't have anything to do with playing effective football.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I said this morning on the radio show. And I think they were playing a clip from Bill Moss talking about this is frustration. This is what happens as you get older and you can't do things the way that you're used to. And it's hard to accept it. And this was always going to be one of the dangers of him not retiring after last year and coming back and wanting to show people or go out on top, whatever it was that was his motivation, which is that you can't control that stuff. That we all get older, we all lose our skills to a certain extent. And he's always, again, likable guy, good dude, great things, Hall of Famer, great in the community, but he's always been volatile emotionally. And so I'm sure he's going through a lot trying to figure out how can I be a difference maker? How can I charge this team up? And you know what usually happens when you're the guy who's getting in people's faces and making all these theatrics on the sideline and you're not playing well? People start tuning you out. They're not sitting there saying, oh my God, Travis is fired up. Let's get going. They're like, dude, you dropped the pass. That could have got a touchdown a game ago. Like you knocked our receiver out for 3 weeks with a dislocated shoulder. And so people remember that stuff. The teammates remember that stuff more. They see that. Players know. And he knows. And players are usually the last to know, when their skills are diminishing. I think that's what he's going through right now. I was around Jerry Rice when he was getting older. I was around Tom Brady when he was getting older. And I can tell you those guys were 100% about whatever last ounce of energy they could get out of being football players they used. And Travis got a lot of stuff going on. I know Brady had a podcast with Jim Gray. I don't remember when he was doing it, but Travis has a lot of stuff going on. And when you're doing that stuff at 36 or almost 36, it catches up to you.
Yeah. What about what you just said there, Jeff? I thought was interesting about the fact that he, his performance on the field diminishes maybe the effectiveness of his message as well. But it also prompted me to wonder, like, if you, how many times can you do this before you become like the boy who cried wolf doing it, to where it's like, man, you're going back to the well with this fired up message again. Like Andy Reid calling out his players for a lack of effort after game 1 in Brazil mattered because he rarely does it. Like that, the rarity of the message adds to the effectiveness of the message when you use it. And I also just I don't know how much I buy that was a Travis Kelce initiated thing. I mean, the cameras only caught the Andy Reid initiative, right? And so that was actually my follow-up to Andy Reid, as I said, was there a specific play that ignited that, or was it the whole thing you had seen on the field? And again, he just said, oh, he's an emotional guy. And so I'm not positive that it wasn't a coach who was pissed off at the player rather than vice versa.
Yeah. I don't know if especially the way Andy Reid phrased it. I wonder if Travis Kelce made a mental mistake, and that was Andy Reid being enough for your crap. Like he wasn't in the right spot. He didn't read the option route the way he was supposed to.
Absolutely possible.
And that's Andy Reid. Then he comes to the podium and he's not going to throw his guy under the bus. But it's like, hey, you go yell at other people, but you got to do it right. You got to be right first, right? You got to lead by example. And when you're making mistakes, it can't work. I don't know that that's the case, but I do think it's. I don't think it's a problem. Let me put it that way. I don't think there's anything that should be panicking. I do think it's a sign of something, right? I phrase it, sign of bigger problems. I don't know if it's that, but I think it's definitely something. It's not the end of the world, but it was Andy Reid sending the message because Andy Reid went and bumped him. When have you ever seen Andy Reid do that? When do you ever see Andy Reid go get in somebody's face?
I've seen him do it with Kelce before, I think, on a Monday night game a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying, Soren, that I agree with is this to me looks like the effect of something that's going on rather than the cause of something that's coming later. Like it's not going to cause issues with the Chiefs later, but there's something that has boiled over here to the frequency of which we're seeing it. And Jeff could be right. I mean, it absolutely could be a player who it's hard to come to grips with the fact you can't have the same effect on a struggling offense that you once could. But I just don't buy it that it's just a player trying to fire up the team, because that exchange, both people were upset in that exchange.
And I think, to Jeff, your point about, the eroding skills and what you mentioned, Steven talking about with Bill Moss, I don't know that you fully realize how much you've lost when you lose it. You run the route, you turn your head, you're expecting the ball. You don't realize that the quarterback's looking at it going like, that guy's not 3 feet behind you. He is on you. Like, I have nowhere to put it. And you're wanting the ball and wanting the same thing to be there, and you're not open. I can't tell you that I've watched him on the all 22s for 3 games and he's not getting open. I can't tell you that's the case, but I think it is a great point about that's what frustration looks like when you can't do what you used to be able to do.
Hey, I used to play a lot of pickup basketball, and my son was out with his
phone
here we
go.
watching me.
Yeah.
And I made a move. I came around a pick and hit a jump shot, like a 20-foot jump shot, and I felt good. I thought I was good rise on it, and came back. Let me see the film of that. And I looked slow. My form was off. Like I got the floor this much. That's what it looks like. That's what Travis Kelce is going through.
I actually think athletically he does look better than last year. Like, I do wonder. Like, there is, and call me a homer, and maybe it's just fandom, that when the other 2 receivers come back, that opens it up for everybody, and he does look better because there's less attention on him. I think that is a possibility, but I also think it's entirely possible I'm grabbing at straws. Is Harrison Butker officially a problem now, Jeff?
He's getting close. I wouldn't say that he's unreliable. But I remember watching, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen here, but I remember watching Justin Tucker last year, who for years I watched and thought he was nails. Obviously, the most accurate kicker ever until Cameron Dicker passed him this year for that title. But it happens, and the problem he's missing badly on stuff that it used to be automatic. And I thought that kick a couple games ago, when it was just like, whatever, it was like 40 feet to the right of the goalpost was bad, missed the extra point. And now this pass game, it just feels like, it's like Derrick Henry fumbling. Like, okay, once I'll give you a break, but you do it 3 times, and now it's starting to look like you've got to fix something. And so, I think there's something going on with him that maybe he's hurt. I don't know, but he's definitely not doing what he's supposed to do, which is problematic when you have an offense that is as struggling the way this one has been.
Kickers can be weird, Sam. I mean, there's an element of like a guy with the yips, when it gets off track, can they get it back on track? I think usually they can. And I think fundamentally he's a guy that can do it. But maybe are we not making enough out of the fact that we listened all last year to Dave Tobe tell us that he's always collapsed his knee on the kicks. And then he showed up, Harrison Butker said, well, I'm trying to get away from that. I didn't used to kick that way. Like that he is maybe, it is a mechanical thing that he's working through. He's trying to get back to what he was before he was kind of dropping down on the kicks, and it's still just a little bit of a work in progress.
Yeah, I mean, it strikes me when you talk to Harrison Butker just how much thought he puts into kicking a football, which is like a great thing. I mean, look, that's why he's been elite for so long. But the other thing is it leaves a lot of opportunity for something in the process to go wrong. And it's not that different from, to me, a pitcher that has a lot going on before the windup. I mean, a lot of pitchers throw differently, but the ideal is, the guy that doesn't have a lot of movement before he throws the baseball, because when the guy has a lot of movement before he throws the baseball, there's a lot that can go wrong. And we've seen elite pitchers to where it's hard to get that back, that repetition back. Well, a pitcher gets to throw 100 times a game, potentially. A kicker's out there for 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 times a game. And it's such a small sample size that I do think it can be hard to get that feeling back exactly right. I don't think that it's just happenstance that he's missed 4 kicks in 3 games, that he's missed a kick in every single game. I don't think that's just coincidence. Like, to me, there is something that is probably not feeling right in his process. And without knowing what that is, it's hard for us to say it's going to be fine or it's not going to be fine. I think he probably knows that answer, but also, wouldn't he be in a mental battle right now as well?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm pretty optimistic that he's going to just start nailing kicks one right after another, right? That's going to lock back in. It doesn't help that the team's playing bad. I mean, I think everybody's probably pressing, and he's going out there like, we ain't scoring many points, so I can't miss this one. But he's made so many kicks where it's like, if I don't make this one, we lose to the Bills. No problem. if I don't make this one, we lose the Super Bowl. No problem. Or we're in overtime. So it doesn't seem like that would weigh him down. It seems like to me, I feel more like it would be a mechanical process. It'll be interesting to see what Dave Tobe wants to say this week about him.
He's the last guy who needed a 48-yard extra point right now, though.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say real quick, he ain't the only young kicker who's gone through this, and the kid in Atlanta has gone through this. Remember the kid from Cincinnati who was nails, and when they went on their Super Bowl run, and he was missing kicks last year. It's happening, Justin Tucker. It's happening a lot more than we realize. It's just now it's maybe his turn to go through it.
Yeah, and I think so many kickers are so good and seem so automatic on so many different things that it really stands out when a guy, when they're all clipping off at 90% now, it's kind of like the industry standard. Then it really pops when you miss a couple of them because, what is this? I've missed kicks. Nobody misses kicks anymore. We want to get into the Chiefs' defense. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Frontier Justice.
This episode of Red, Gold, and Bold is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. What impressed most, Sam, on the defensive side?
To me, it's that they executed completely different game plans in back-to-back weeks. I mean, in week 2, they were all about blitzing. They blitzed 60% of the time against Jalen Hurts, which is still the second most that anyone's blitzed in any game this year. And they held the Eagles to their third fewest yards that they've had in a game in a decade. A week later, they do the complete opposite. They rarely blitz Russell Wilson, 18% of the snaps, which is the 17th fewest of the 96 instances this year. And they still shut down one of the best receivers in the game in Malik Neighbors. I mean, 2 catches for 7 yards. Coming into this game, Russell Wilson had the most downfield completions in the game. I talked about that on Friday. And he leaves the game benched. Like, the Chiefs caught 2 downfield passes before he completed any of them to his own receivers. So I just think – I didn't know that this defense this early would have the ability to execute different game plans like that. And they played completely different defense against the Giants than they did against the Eagles, and they were effective in both games.
The Giants had hung a big point total the week before. I mean, I know it was against lesser competition in the Dallas Cowboys, but they had proven capable. I mean, the talk was Russell Wilson, 260 some odd yards and deep balls, 7 of 12 for 260 something, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. And we were talking about the secondary of the Chiefs being a question mark. Not necessarily coming off that Eagles game. We discussed how their receivers were really held in check. But I mean, to me, the secondary came out and took out one of the best players in the game, and a team that was, if you can be hot and 0-2, they were hot at throwing the ball down the field, and they got nothing.
Well, to me, it told me how bad the Dallas Cowboys defense is, because Caleb Williams went into that place, went up against that team, and he was struggling, and he came out with 300 yards and 4 touchdown passes, and so I give them credit to the Chiefs for their game plan, and they've been really look when they have to take one receiver away. They've been pretty good at it. Well, that's Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. Like, they can do that all day long. And I like seeing Chris Roland Wallace, who I think has shown a lot. He's somebody who I didn't know much about last year. And when we were going through the roster construction, I thought that he had shown enough as a safety in training in preseason. And I think you're seeing some of the things he can do. So I think he may be a hidden gem for them and maybe somebody who could step in and be a bigger playmaker down the stretch. But I was encouraged by the pass rush. I thought that seeing Chris Jones get a sack and seeing Karlaftis around the quarterback a lot more was encouraging. Again, they've got a much bigger hill to climb this time around, but they're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, the secondary, is it now a strength, Sam? Is it all figured out, and the Chiefs can hang their hat on the fact that teams are going to have a tough time throwing the ball on them?
Yeah, I mean, that's what has surprised me the most. I mean, you mentioned after the Chargers game, I thought the secondary was the defense's top concern, even above the lack of pass rush that they had in that game, because I at least excused the pass rush in that game for saying they were playing the run. They weren't expecting the pass, but the secondary was terrible in that game. I give credit, again, for the adjustments that they've made and personnel there. You know, Trent McDuffie is playing in the slot more, not full-time. He's playing there more. Shamari Connor is playing there a lot less. And then, Chris Rowland-Wallace was at safety for that play, like Jeff mentioned. If you watch the all-22 of that play, I mean, he comes from across the field to get that interception because he reads that play, reads the route and the quarterback on that play. I mean, that's a second-year player that none of us had on our projected roster a year ago, by the way. And the Chiefs saw something in him in training camp, even though he wasn't getting reps with the ones, wasn't getting reps with the two, they kept him. And here he is a year later, and I agree with Jeff, he looks like a player. And then you mentioned the secondary as a whole. Jalen Watson got no help on his INT. It was just one-on-one with Malik Neighbors in the end zone, and he comes down with it. I mean, I think it's just a reminder.
Horrible throw, by the way.
But he had a blanket. Like, there's no space. I mean, at some point, the Chiefs defense deserves some credit, right?
Yeah.
Russell
Wilson had a lot of horrible throws in that game. So I'm not taking anything away. I'm just saying that was another one of the ones he made that was
he did, but like I think this is a reminder that Spags and Dave Merrick can coach, and like the past 2 weeks have provided that reminder. Because AJ Brown and Devontae Smith didn't do anything against the Chiefs either.
Yeah, I think that's an important part of the equation, and really Saquon Barkley didn't have a big day either. I mean, they had a good all-around defensive day. I think what's interesting is usually if you're like, okay, well, the quarterback had bad throws. Oh, because he was under duress all the time. Like he was being pressured. The D-line must have had a big day. Did they have 6 sacks and 14 quarterback hits? No. Like nobody mentioned pass rush. We talked about like what you liked on the defense. Like, is that, Jeff, if you have a concern, like it's not the secondary, but is the concern that they're putting too much on the secondary?
Again, I think at least I went into this game last week thinking we're either going to get Russell Wilson of Dallas or Russell Wilson from the season opener. And we got Russell Wilson in the season opener. And so I don't want to take anything away from the defense because they played well, but he played a huge role in it. That last series he had was one of the worst series I've ever seen a professional quarterback have in my life. I have never seen a quarterback on 4th down throw the ball out of the end zone in my life.
Well, Bryce
never
Young
seen that before.
Bryce Young did it in week 1, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll see how they play. Like when they play the Lions, when they play the Ravens this week, when they play the Bills, they play those teams. We'll have a better sense of who they are. But yeah, they're playing well. I don't want to take anything away from them on that front, but I think who they're playing against matters too.
Yeah, where do you sit on the pass rush and what they're getting done up front, Sam?
Well, we finally heard from George Karlaftis in this game. I thought George Karlaftis was terrific. And if you go back and watch that series that Jeff is talking about, first of all, it's hard to take your eyes off the quarterback because it was just horrific decision-making. Like the one thing that shouldn't leave you, if your legs leave you, if you're Russell Wilson, okay, your arm talent gets a little bit worse, okay. The mind should not leave you. You should have a better mind in that sense. And to throw the ball away 3 of the 4 plays makes no sense. But George Karlaftis is exhausted in that series, and he still pressures and still wins. And I thought Karlaftis was really active. I know Chris Jones had the sack. I don't know that he was terribly active in that game. And I still think against the teams that Jeff's talking about, now I will point out they did play the Eagles, and the Chargers don't have a bad offense either. But against these better teams that they're coming up, like the Ravens and Lions, 2 of the next 3 weeks, they need to hear more from Chris Jones in those games.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, he did get a sack, and maybe that's good enough, but he has not been real active in any of the games. And I think all the pass rush looks better when he's getting pressure there. So
to your point, Soren, like he's on pace for I guess 5 sacks now, right? Because he's got 1 in 3 games. I mean, just over 5. He had 5 last year. He's not producing at the same level he
No.
did a year ago. Last year, he should have had much more sacks based on his production. This year, 1 sack for 3 games feels about right.
Yeah. How about this one? I'm, quit letting Chris Jones play defensive end.
So he has played less edge than he did a year ago. Last year, he led interior defenders in edge alignment. This year, he's played there less frequently.
Yeah, I think it's. I think that's something to watch. They need him, and this is this guy's getting older. I mean, this is him. What were pressures are now you're a step away, and you're not getting a pressure. I mean, you're just a little bit worse, and it's a slim margin, right? When it's all there, we'll break down the game against the Ravens, talk about how they'll defend Lamar Jackson on the next Red, Gold, and Bold on Friday. You can always support the Red, Gold, and Bold by supporting our great sponsors, of course, our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's best since 1994, making parking lot problems disappear. One contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Italian Delight, the first restaurant to bring true New York style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago, whether it's their strombolis, calzones, sausage rolls, hot and cold subs, lasagna, classic chicken Alfredo. It is a wonderful place, just a few minutes east of the Speedway on State Avenue. They've got daily lunch specials starting at under $10. Find them at 8145 State Avenue in KCK, and of course our friends in with Frontier Justice. Lee Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, Jenks, Oklahoma. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top gear, and a strong sense of community. Find them online at frontier-justice.com. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red, Gold, and Bold.